Good morning, everyone, and welcome to New Shepard's 23rd mission. Thanks for joining us. I'm Erica Wagner, coming to you from our headquarters in Seattle, Washington. Our launch team is down in West Texas preparing New Shepard for flight. This mission is dedicated to payloads. We have 36 on board, as well as tens of thousands of postcards from Club for the Future, Blue Origin's nonprofit. There are no people on board today. This is the fourth flight for the New Shepard program this year, the 23rd New Shepard flight since the program began, and the first dedicated payload flight since NS-17 in August of 2021. The vehicle on the pad this morning is dedicated to payload missions, and it's the 9th flight for this particular rocket. 18 of the payloads on this flight are funded by NASA, primarily through the NASA Flight Opportunities Program, who have been a great partner for us in testing a wide range of space technologies. These payloads are helping prepare important capabilities for our future of living and working in space for the benefit of Earth. Now, one of the most important aspects about New Shepard is that it can conduct many kinds of missions, from astronaut flights to research to creating novel kinds of art and media. Including today's flight, the total number of commercial payloads flown on New Shepard is now more than 150. New Shepard offers access to space, where timelines for researchers to prepare are measured in weeks to months, not months to years. And this sort of regular access allows them to collect their preliminary data quickly, to tune their systems, and to reduce risk for longer missions. Several of the payloads on today's flight are supporting lunar technology development. One of them is Infinity Fuel Cell's AMPS experiment, which aims to demonstrate the operation of hydrogen fuel cell technology in microgravity. Now, hydrogen fuel cells are pretty neat. We can break down water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then use an electrochemical reaction to extract the energy from these molecules. Fuel cells can cleanly power a wide range of systems, producing only heat and water as byproducts. Infinity is collaborating with NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston to develop these flexible power systems, which will reduce costs and improve reliability. Someday they may even be used to help power lunar rovers or habitats. On our last two payload flights, we flew the Deorbit Descent and Landing Sensor Demonstration, or DDL, exposed on the outside of the New Shepard booster. This payload tested a suite of sensors for high-accuracy landing on future moon missions using a terrain-relative navigation technology. Today, two more payloads will fly on the exterior of the New Shepard booster to take advantage of this exposure to the space environment. All of these payloads are helping us gain experience on the vehicle as we work towards a lunar G-flight. On some special future payload missions, after we separate the capsule from the booster, we'll use small reaction control thrusters to gently spin up the whole vehicle like a slow centrifuge. That spinning will produce centripetal accelerations equal to about 1/6 of Earth's gravity, mimicking the environment of the lunar surface. New Shepard is quickly becoming a go-to vehicle for flying NASA-funded, lunar-related technologies to enable a sustainable return to the moon. Speaking of science, earlier this year, our friends at the International Space Station, the ISS, achieved an extraordinary milestone of over 1 million hours of total research. A big congratulations to NASA and all the scientists who have contributed to this incredible body of work. I'm just going to call out that we are in a hold, and you can see that in the upper right hand of your screen. So let's go check in with the rocket.
Well, good morning, everyone, or maybe good afternoon or evening, depending where you're joining us from. Welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of NS-23, launching from Blue Origin's launch facility at Launch Site 1 in Corn Ranch in Texas. Today you're waiting for the launch of New Shepard 4, the booster New Shepard 4, with their cargo capsule on board. We saw the name there a few minutes ago. First cargo launch for New Shepard in over a year, so excited to see another one of these back out at the pad. As you can see, we are now at a hold, T-minus 15 minutes in holding, and we want to hear from you in the chat. One, let us know where you're watching from, and two, answer the poll. How many minutes of holds do you think we will see during today's countdown? It's kind of always a fun little game with the New Shepard ones. It is very common to see a hold at the 15-minute mark. That is where they do their final pad clear out and safing of the pad prior to launch. So normal to see it at this point, but we want to hear from you. How many minutes until you think we will see that? How many minutes of holds do you think we will have? If it's your first time here, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad. And here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And you're here for our live launch coverage of New Shepard 23. This is the fourth launch for Blue Origin in 2022, their 23rd overall launch of New Shepard, and going to be their 9th launch and landing attempt of New Shepard 4, the booster itself. So starting to get up in those higher numbers. Soon going to be rivaling a Falcon 9 for its reuse there. Obviously a much smaller vehicle, with this being only a suborbital trajectory. In total, from launch to landing of the booster and the capsule is just a total of about 10 minutes, with about 3 minutes of 0G. Let's listen back in.
While Mission Control makes sure all systems and weather are go. While we wait, there's so much going on at Blue Origin, and so much more planned for the future. Here's a look at many of the things we're doing all across Team Blue.
And because there's some music there, we'll leave the video playing, and we'll talk a little bit about what everything they're doing at Blue Origin. They've got a lot of different departments up and running, not only New Shepard, but they've got Orbital Reef, their new space station. They're working on their new Glenn rocket. They're still working, apparently, on their lunar lander, and lots of other things. So lots of innovation happening over at Blue Origin. If you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and I'll work on answering those over the next little bit here as we continue to hold at T-minus 15 minutes, now hitting 4 minutes 20 seconds of hold time. So we got lots of people tuning in from all over the world. We got Don in Pennsylvania. We got Mikhail, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, in Dublin. We got Phyllis in Oklahoma. Cameron's in New Zealand. Great to have you here. Lockwater is in Reynoldsburg. I probably said that wrong, in Ohio. Great to have you here. Julio's in Brazil. Thanks for being here. I'm up in Canada. Great to have so many of you tuning in here this morning for today's New Shepard flight. This flight's been pushed a few times. It was scheduled to occur last week and a little bit about the week before during the New Shepard, the Artemis 1 launch window. But had a couple of delays, and they actually are into the countdown today. The last couple of times they weren't able to get into the countdown due to weather constraints. Flawed perspective, when is Blue Origin planning an orbital flight? From what we're hearing, New Glenn is a lot further along than we think. I know we haven't seen a whole lot of New Glenn. We've seen that kind of Pathfinder shell of it roll out to the pad a while back, but we have not seen a lot more. But as you can see in some of the footage here from within the Blue Origin facility, and some people that I'm talking to, New Glenn is getting very close. I would say within the next year for sure, maybe 6 months. 6 months to a year, I think we will see New Glenn at the pad for the first time, which I'm excited about. I think, given everything Blue Origin, I think New Glenn's a really interesting rocket. It looks really neat, and we could use another super heavy lift vehicle. I mean, imagine having SLS, Starship, New Glenn, and Falcon Heavy all online at the same time. Be pretty amazing to see. Definitely helping push us into this next generation. If you haven't been down to Florida, when you do go, you'll be visiting NASA Kennedy Space Center, I'm sure, and you can't miss Blue Origin's facility down there. There is a large production facility right across from the visitor center, visitor complex, and they are innovating. They are building, and they are getting ready for today, or ready for their next kind of step forward with New Glenn. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're joining us for our live launch coverage of New Shepard 23, launching from Launch Site 1 at Corn Ranch. We are waiting for some updates from Mission Control on why we have entered a hold at this time. But the hold clock is still holding at T-minus 15 minutes. Again, if you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat. Tag us at the launch pad. That'll flag it in our system. And we'll be working on answering those for you here. New Shepard holds a total of about 3 minutes in zero gravity before returning down. In total, from launch to touchdown of booster and capsule equals a total of about 10 minutes, or almost how long we've been in this hold already. The booster would actually already have been on the ground. Giving you a quick update on Artemis, though. We do have our Artemis 24/7 tracker running at the same time, where you can stay up to date with everything Artemis 1 and the status of its repairs. We are continuing to move forward towards a launch attempt on the 23rd with a backup on the 27th. Now, today there should be an Orion power-up test, and then on the 17th we are hearing there will be a critical tanking test. Now, we are hearing that engineers are considering moving this earlier, so we are waiting for confirmation from NASA on that, so make sure you stay tuned on our tracker for Artemis 1, and we'll bring you those updates. We are also waiting to hear from the range to have confirmation that the range will be authorizing Artemis 1 for another launch attempt. Thor, what is the Blue Origin sending up in cargo? Is it a resupply? No. So New Shepard can't get into orbit. It's just a suborbital mission. On board are a bunch of small payloads, mostly for like universities or small organizations that are just getting into aerospace to test different technologies. So they need to send up their payloads to zero gravity for at least 2 minutes to be able to conduct their experiments. So that's what they do. With New Shepard. It's a cheaper, easier way of sending up a payload to do an early test prior than paying for something to go up, let's say on a Dragon or up to the station for a long duration test. There really isn't any other options right now to do something like this other than like maybe a sounding rocket, but in those they have a much higher G-force, so they have to be careful for it. Also on board are tens of thousands of postcards from Club to the Future that all get loaded up there, as you can see on your screen, and launched, and when they come back down they all get a stamp, flown to space on Blue Origin on New Shepard, and then they get sent back to each of the people, which is a pretty neat thing to do. We hope to send one up one day. Neat way of making it feel more accessible to, especially to kids, that they can send something to space and then return it as well. If you're just joining us, though, take a moment, make sure you've engaged that like button. It really does help us out. Share out the stream as we count down. Let's listen back in to Blue Origin Mission Control for maybe an update.
So much cool stuff going on across all of Blue Origin. We are looking for great people across a wide range of disciplines and specialties to join Team Blue. If you're interested in joining our team, please visit our website for more details. Okay, I see that we're continuing in our hold. Let's go check out what's going on out at the pad.
AKA, let's just go look at the rocket because we don't have anything to say, but that's okay. There you can see the cargo ship CCT.0-1 or RSS HG Wells. That is the name of the cargo ship for today's mission. As we continue in that hold, we'll hopefully remove from this hold here pretty quickly. As well, we're coming up to what that initial T0 was, but don't worry, they do have some time in their window, as usual, to be able to launch for it. We don't have the exact window for this mission, but they do generally have a good hour or two. Going back to what was on board, there is an Infinity fuel cell, which is in collaboration with NASA Johnson Space Center, working on a hydrogen fuel cell technology for lunar rovers and surface equipment. The University of Florida has their biological imaging in support of suborbital science experiment. We've got the Honeybee Robotics Asset 1, which is how to test how regolith, the soil found on other planets, responds to different gravity conditions. We have NeoCity Academy's Wings of Steel payload, which is 6 high school students. Their experiment is designed to last 3 minutes and test the effects of microgravity on ultrasonic sound waves. We have MIT's Media Lab setting up their wax casting, which is an experiment focused on the advancement of propellants such as paraffin or beeswax. Many solid propellants are hazardous and harmful to people and environments, where wax provides a cleaner, non-toxic, more affordable solution. So they're going to be testing a rotate metal wax candle and a similar liquid called heptadectane. I said that wrong, I know I did. To study the process of how form fuel cells out of wax in microgravity. And there's a bunch of other payloads. There's 36 in total. Some of the other ones are from Olympia Space, NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center, Johns Hopkins University. We got Titan Space Technologies, T2 Mission Arrayway, Create LLC, and Dartmouth College, among many others. So 36 payloads in total going on board. I believe all are inside the capsule on this mission. On the last cargo mission over a year ago, they did have a couple strapped to the side of the booster to do some testing for precision landing, and that's what we are going to see there. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view of Launch Site 1 at Corn Ranch in Texas, where Blue Origin is currently in a hold, T-minus 15 minutes and holding.
We're currently in a hold while Mission Control makes sure all systems and weather are aligned. We anticipate this will take a couple of minutes. As we've said time and time again, our long-term vision here at Blue Origin is millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth. It's a big goal, and to get there, we're going to need future generations to help us along the way.
If you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat by taking us at the launch pad, and we'll be answering those live. Flaw perspective, is there a zero-G indicator on board like a Kerbal plushie? Not for the new Shepard flights. They don't have a zero-G indicator like we've seen there before. Interesting idea, though. But small space, especially for these cargoes. But an interesting idea. Maybe something you could include in the future. With that, let us know in the chat, what would your zero-G indicator be? What would you want to bring that you'd strap on a string and hopefully see float to tell you that you are now officially in zero gravity? Reborn still can't get over the shape of it. Yeah, it's a unique shape, isn't it? It's a special shape. And I agree, it's not how much time you get there, it's how many minutes you make those minutes count while you're in space. Absolutely. A lot of these experiments are sitting in like a pending mode during the launch. So the moment they get into zero gravity, they hit a button and they start. And they can do their research as quickly as possible during that kind of 3-minute period of time. Ooh, TLP flag is a zero-G indicator. So are you saying we should do maybe TLP teddy bears? Because I feel like a teddy bear might be easier. But flag's a good idea. Flaw perspective, one of your cats wants to send the other into space. Okay, that would work. I don't think we've sent a cat. Not recently, at least. Thor plushie. Good idea. If you're just joining us, welcome here. We are now T-minus 15 minutes and holding. We've been holding for 16 minutes at the mark here. And mark, that's 16 minutes and hold. T-minus 15 minutes and holding for now a total of 16 minutes. So we would have been well into the mission at this point. Teams continuing to monitor the weather and the rocket, making sure everything is nominal for today's flight. Amy loved that. Maybe a corgi plushie in honor of the queen. I love that. That's very nice.
Excited about the future indeed. So thankful for all the kids that are joining us and the work that we do with Club for the Future and Blue Origin. We are continuing to hold this morning in West Texas, so let's go back out and check out how things are going at the rocket. We're currently in a hold while Mission Control makes sure all systems and weather are go. While we have a moment, let's talk about how the new Shepard operation uses holds.
Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us today on what is a very busy day, but also a very busy week. You are our flight director for the New Shepard 20th mission, but you also have a very impressive background. Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to Blue?
Absolutely, Jackie. I'm an engineer by training, but I joined NASA as an astronaut in the late 1990s and flew on 2 space shuttle missions to help construct the International Space Station, including doing 3 spacewalks on the second mission. Wow. That was a lot of fun. I did that for about 15 years.
Say that's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And then I decided that what I really wanted to do for the next step in my career was come and take that knowledge, the lessons I'd learned at NASA, and help build a road to space here at Blue Origin.
All right, Nicholas, tell us a little bit about how the launch windows differ here for our New Shepard missions versus something like a space shuttle mission.
They're quite different, Jackie. When we were flying the space shuttle, we had to launch within a very narrow window in order to dock with the space station that was flying overhead at 17,500 miles an hour. You can imagine if you're going to dock with the space station, you really only have a couple of minutes either side of the nominal launch time. And if you wait much longer than that, the space station's gone. Well, here at Blue Origin, we're flying a suborbital vehicle that doesn't have to dock with anything. So our launch window can be much longer. And in fact, that window is typically defined by sunrise in the morning and then by temperatures becoming say, too hot in the desert mid-morning or afternoon, or perhaps the GPS satellite constellation availability or something else like that. But our windows are typically a couple of hours long.
Got it. And another difference between the two is the approach to holds during the clock. How does that work for New Shepard?
That's really a choice rather than something that's forced upon us by the physics of launching. NASA and several launch vehicles use planned holds, and those are times when the automated sequences, the clock as it were, can stop running, and the human activities can catch up or can take place without being constrained by a clock. So, for example, we used a hold at NASA to load astronauts. That's something that might take an hour, it might take an hour and a half, and a hold is a great place to put that. Here at Blue Origin, we decided to take a different path. We decided to build the time we need into the clock schedule so that we could leave the clock running, for example, during astronaut load. And that's what we do. So you'll notice that when in the normal course of events, our clock never stops, but we have the ability to use holds now, of course, to wait for improvements in the weather, for example, or to wait for an aircraft to fly off the range if we have a red range, or to deal with any issues that our flight controllers bring up to us.
So another difference between the New Shepard mission and, say, a space shuttle mission are our approaches to hold when we're in the countdown clock. How does holding differ? Tell us a little bit about that.
Holding is quite different here at Blue Origin. At NASA, we traditionally used holds during, say, the shuttle launch to allow the non-computer controlled parts of the launch preparation to be done without the clock running. So we would halt the clock, the sequence of automated events in the launch countdown, to do things like load astronauts. And then we could let that happen without the clock ticking safely, and then restart the clock and count down the remaining time to launch. Because the choice to use launch holds is not driven by the physics of launching, like, for example, the launch window is, we were able to choose a different approach at Blue. We tried out this approach of having no holds, of building additional time into the procedure while the clock is running, so that people who don't have a task can wait, while others who have a task can continue to run it to the clock. That, we think, has worked quite well. It's been helpful in some ways. We do have the ability to call holds whenever we need them, for example, to wait for winds to improve or for clouds to move out of the range. We also, of course, encourage anybody on the launch team to call a hold whenever they have a safety issue that they'd like to raise, and that hold then gives us time to really examine it in depth, to address it, and decide whether we're good to proceed, whether we need to change a procedure a bit, or whether we're going to scrub.
Well, thank you so much for those behind-the-scenes insights. Super informational.
And that was New Shepard Flight Director Nick Patrick sitting down with Jackie Cortez, talking about planned holds, unplanned holds, what they are, how we're using them by the team on launch days. Let's go back out to the rocket and see how things are going with New Shepard. while we have a moment, let's talk some more about safety. Safety drives everything we do at Blue Origin. There's nobody on Team Blue who does a better job talking about this than Blue Origin's Director of Systems Safety Engineering, Andrew Lake.
Andrew, you have such an important role at Blue Origin. So at Blue, when we say safety is a top priority, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's interesting, this idea of safety as a priority, and there are a lot of ways to think about this, but I see safety more as a core value that you build a business around. And a business like what we were thinking about for New Shepard and what Blue is doing in general is animated around this idea of safe and reliable systems.
So New Shepard went through this extensive test program, right? And we flew for, 5-6 years before we put people on board. How do you know that you're done?
In a certain sense,
instilling safety into both the vehicle and the how it operates.
Yeah, there are a couple ways you kind of go about it. The first thing you have to do is you have to set goals, safety performance goals, safety performance thresholds, to help you understand when you've met those thresholds. But in any program, you're never really done. You always want to look for opportunities to improve the system, both operationally, both for safety, both for reliability as well. And so we always have to maintain a humility that comes with flying rockets with these kinds of energies involved. And so we, and the ops team that we're about to go fly this mission, I've never seen a team more diligent, more patient, and the constant awareness and the vigilance required to, say, raise issues and make sure they're addressed before we decide that it's time to fly people.
It's taken a team of people to get to this point, to be flying people on New Shepard. What would you say to this team?
I'm humbled to work with this team. It would be lying to say that 3 people who happen to have voted as part of a much larger tech for human flight certification are the people who decided that we're safe enough. Hundreds of people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this program. Each of them just immensely individually focused on not just the safety of the system, but the reliability of the system. And then there is the work that our team does to kind of partner with them to help them achieve these goals. I am immensely grateful for the opportunity to work with them, and I'm humbled to have an opportunity to kind of lead the safety mission assurance efforts with this team.
Well, tell me this. Would you fly on New Shepard?
I would, and let me just say this.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people at Blue that would be excited to fly New Shepard, and I'm happy to count myself as one of them. It's a fantastic system. It's a very robust system. And yeah, if I ever had the opportunity to fly, I'll wink a little bit at the folks making these decisions. I would be super excited.
Fantastic. Well, I hope we get to go one day.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure hearing from Andrew Lake. Really, all of Team Blue is all about mission safety, mission success. So we're taking a look at everything today, making sure our parameters are all within the nominal ranges before we launch. Let's go check out how things are looking out at the pad. And the hold has been cleared, so we are back to talking about science. Now, here at Blue Origin, we are so excited about all of these payload missions and also about building on this legacy with our new commercial space station, Orbital Reef, now in development with our partners at Sierra Space. We're really looking forward to taking so many of the payloads and astronauts we're now flying on New Shepard even higher later in this decade. check out orbitalreef.com for more details. In West Texas, we are now at T-minus 14 minutes, so let's go check in with the rocket.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of New Shepard 23's mission. Blue Origin launching another New Shepard, but a cargo mission this time. The first time in over a year we've seen a New Shepard.
If you're just joining us, welcome.
On the pad, we were in a hole at T-minus 15 minutes for about 30 minutes, and that countdown has resumed now at T-minus 13 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. As we continue down through today's count, take a moment, make sure you've engaged that like button. If you have questions, you can send those to us in the chat by taking us at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those live. We haven't heard much about why that hold occurred, but we'll listen back into Blue Origin Mission Control, so stay with us.
Before. In just the last year, we've flown 31 people above the Kármán line across 6 human flights. Now, this includes 7 awesome women who really inspire me. We call them the Women in Blue. With fewer than 100 women that have ever traveled to space, I really love the way these folks are inspiring girls and women all around the world. Soon we'll be opening up New Shepard to human-tended research flights. Now this means that scientists will get the opportunity to fly to space with their science. I'm thrilled about the ways this is going to change the game for professional researchers, both in terms of the quality and the types of science they'll be able to do. It's kind of like moving from an everyday driver to a professional race car driver. These folks are incredible at what they do, and having them fly with their research will bring their work to new heights, literally. Now, my own background is in bioastronautics, or space medicine. So I'm also super excited about what we can learn about the way everyday astronauts' bodies respond to space. Commercial missions like New Shepard are offering us a much larger, much more diverse set of flyers to learn about this important area. Today, we have more than 24 payloads on board from elementary, middle, and high school classrooms, as well as university-led programs, engaging an entire community of students around the globe. Shout out to all the classrooms and student clubs watching the live stream today. In fact, students from Neo City Academy in Kissimmee, Florida, have 2 payloads on board today. I see they're watching with us live now from the Academy. Hey, y'all, nice to see you. Fantastic. Love that enthusiasm. One of the Neo City payloads is called Wings of Steel, and that experiment will test the effects of gravity on ultrasonic sound waves. At Blue Origin, we believe inspiring the next generation is essential to achieving our vision of millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth. This is a goal that will take more than my generation. It'll take many future generations, too. It's why we founded our STEM-focused nonprofit Club for the Future, to inspire students to pursue careers related to science, technology, engineering, and math. Payloads, like many of the ones on board New Shepard today, provide students as young as elementary school the opportunity to learn STEM skills, like coding, testing, and CAD design. Many of these skills are often not taught until college, but here we see students from all around the world now able to design, build, and launch their dreams into space. In addition to all the science and research on board, today's mission is carrying tens of thousands of postcards to space and back on behalf of Club for the Future. The club's Postcards to Space program gives students access to space on Blue Origin's rockets. Now, the postcards on this mission come from 19 Club for the Future grant recipients and their partners, including Guayaquil Space Society in Ecuador, students who participated in the STEM NOLA and Kenner Planetarium events in New Orleans, and schools all across the state of Kentucky. Some of the postcards also come from the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, where Club for the Future recently installed a new postbox to space. If you're in Huntsville for space camp or a visit to the museum, drop your postcard in the box and have it included on a future mission. Each postcard on board will get flown to the Kármán line and back, and then returned to its creator, stamped flown to space. When I see an 8-year-old holding a piece of art that she just sent to space, it really does feel like anything is possible. So thank you, Club, for helping to inspire. Back to our long-term vision of millions of people living and working in space for the benefit of Earth. Reusing vehicles and turning them around quickly is essential to reducing the cost of access to space. Imagine if you had to buy a new car every time you drove across town. Travel would be incredibly expensive. So we work towards operational reusability, bringing down the cost of flight. In fact, 99% of New Shepard's dry mass is reused. Everything from the crew capsule and the booster to the ring fin, the engines, and the parachutes. New Shepard's vehicles are currently designed for 25 uses, but we're striving to quadruple that number over time. Okay, we're just under T-minus 8.5 minutes until launch. Let's pause for a moment here as we wait for the go, no-go poll from Mission Control, which should be happening any minute now. I'm on. Okay. Okay, we've just heard from Mission Control that we are go for launch. I know there's a bunch of excited students, scientists, and researchers across the globe right now. Let's take a closer look at some of their payloads. The first one is from the University of Florida. The payload is called Biological Imaging in support of suborbital science, or BIS for short. This team uses an enhanced flex fluorescent imaging system to enable a more precise understanding of how plants experience the trip to space. High-resolution visualization tracks chemical signals moving through the plant's leaves and stems during flight. These chemical signals modify gene expression during the flight, which is then evaluated by collecting plant samples immediately after landing. Here you see the principal investigators, Dr. Rob Furl and Dr. Annalisa Paul, at work in the field following our last payload mission. Dr. Furl and Dr. Paul have flown payloads on 5 New Shepard flights, dating all the way back to the vehicle's 7th mission. Welcome back to the University of Florida's Space Plants team. Another payload on board today is called wax casting. This comes to us from the MIT Media Lab under the leadership of Dr. Danielle Wood. MIT is going to be testing how cleaner solid rocket motor propellants, such as paraffin and beeswax, can be fabricated in space. Many traditional space fuels are harmful to people and the environment. Wax is affordable and non-toxic. The goal of this experiment is to visualize what happens when 2 liquids are rotated in microgravity to understand how wax forms into fuel grains. Now, these grains could be effective in hybrid propulsion systems on future spacecraft. The T2 experiment from Titan Space Technologies, a new startup in the commercial space market, will use advanced AI to capture suborbital data from multiple sensors and analyze the results in real time. The company's co-founder, Ashley Pilipshin, was the former technical director at OpenAI, one of the world's leading AI research companies. Her expertise will be hard at work today. The T2 results will help Titan advance the development of their AI-powered platform for space experimentation. Impressively, Titan designed and executed this payload in fewer than 60 days. Just goes to show what's possible on commercial suborbital flight systems. All around, there's cutting-edge science and technology on board today. Best wishes to all of our payload teams. We know how much you're looking forward to digging into that data from today's spaceflight. We are at a little less than T-minus 5 minutes until launch. New Shepard is looking ready to go on the pad. If you're just joining us, we are minutes away from launch. Here's the flight profile for the New Shepard vehicle. Starting at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds is when we enter into auto sequence. This is when the team in mission control essentially becomes hands-off. The vehicle becomes autonomous. The countdown to engine ignition is at T-minus 0, followed by throttle up, and the vehicle lifts off the launch pad to begin its journey. Around 1 minute into flight, we reach max Q. That's where the vehicle experiences its maximum dynamic pressure from the atmosphere. New Shepard will throttle back the engine as it passes through this point. After about 2 minutes, the BE-3 engine shuts down, and we reach MECO, or max main engine cutoff. At this moment, the payloads on board will begin to measure microgravity. This is followed shortly after, at about 2.5 minutes, by separation of the capsule, pushed gently away from the top of the booster as it makes its way to apogee, the highest point in the flight. Now we're in free fall and the payloads are in full swing until the vehicle begins to encounter the atmosphere once again. Apogee for both the capsule and the booster happens around 4 minutes into flight. As the booster begins to descend and re-enter the atmosphere, its fins will deploy to help guide and steer it back to the landing pad. The drag brakes deploy, increasing the rocket's surface area and slowing it down. The BE-3 engine then restarts, really decreasing the speed to just a soft hover as it finds mark over the landing pad. Its landing legs deploy, and it will gently set down. Back to the capsule, it's
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of New Shepard 23. As you can see in the top right corner, we have entered another unplanned hold. We are at T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds and holding. We have been in this hold for just over a minute at this time, so we're waiting for an update on from Blue Origin on why New Shepard has entered another hold. We held at T-minus 15 minutes for just over 30 minutes, and we finally resumed that count, and we'll hopefully have an update here once they complete the flight profile. Let's listen in.
I see that we are in a hold. We're going to toss it back to the rocket on the pad.
Or they're just going to show us the rocket instead and not tell us what's going on, but that's okay. We're holding at T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds, coming up to almost 2 minutes of hold time so far. But keep in mind, Blue Origin does have about a 2-hour or so window normally for these missions. Today's cargo mission, taking 36 payloads up over the Kármán line for a total of 3 minutes. The entire mission from launch to booster landing to capsule landing is just over 10 minutes. While we're in this hold, if you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and I'll work on answering some of those live. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, and let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Love to give you guys a shout out if it's your first time here. Looks like a nice clear day at Corn Ranch, though, in Texas. Lots of blue skies, so most likely they're monitoring some of those upper level winds, but we're still waiting to hear from Mission Control. We got Samuel in Tampa, Milorda is in California, we got Glenn in Australia, David's in Scotland, Tubular's in Netherlands, Thomas in South Carolina. Great to have you all here. We got Rick in Merritt Island. We were just down there. Be back in a week or so. Don's in Pennsylvania. Strato's in Hecktown, Pennsylvania. We got Ohio Fishing Extreme from Ohio. Paul's in Germany. We've got Apogee in Georgia. Neha in India. Great to have you all here. Heather's watching from her bed. That sounds like a great place to watch this. Lockwater's Ohio. Fat Thor's in Dublin. We got Kai in Oregon. Dee Dee's in UK. Paul is in Thailand. Hector's in Orlando, Florida. Great to have you all here with us this morning. If you're just joining us, welcome. You're joining us for our live launch coverage of New Shepard 23, Blue Origin's first cargo mission in over a year with the New Shepard vehicle. First time we've seen a capsule that wasn't one of their crew capsules in over a year. So we're excited to see another one of these take off here today, carrying 36 payloads up across the Kármán line for about 3 minutes. We are holding at 3 minutes 30 seconds. We've been holding here for about 4 minutes now, and we're waiting for an update. Let's listen in.
As you see in the upper right corner of your screen, we're currently in a hold while Mission Control makes sure all systems and weather are go for launch. We anticipate this will take a few more minutes. Weather plays a key role in our decision-making at Launch Site 1. Here's a look at how our launch team factors in the often variable West Texas weather.
On a launch day, we give several.
And because there's some music there, we're going to have to mute that, and we'll answer some of your questions. You can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll be answering those. But we'll leave the video on screen so you can see a bit of what they're talking about. There's a lot of factors that go into, while we wait for your questions, a lot of factors that go into calculating the weather. You're looking at winds, radar, electrical, for any risk of lightning. And when you're looking at winds, you're not looking at just ground level winds. You're looking at medium level winds and high level winds. Also, because of how quick the return is, you have to look at those recovery conditions as well. So lots of factors that they have to be looking for. Shane's from North Carolina, originally from South Carolina. Great to have you and your son here. Thanks for being here. We got Tootie in Chicago. Great to have you. Azul's in Portugal. Joel's in Vancouver. Brenda's in California. We got Will from China. True in Oregon. Cameron on a Southwest flight? Are you on a plane right now? Let us know in the chat if you're watching this on a plane right now. That's awesome if you are. Jay Lethal is asking, what is the point of sending cargo straight up and then straight down? So that's a really great question, and honestly something that universities have been asking for years. There is a lot of universities and new organizations that are wanting to test early generation technology for new tech, for low Earth orbit, for the moon, and for Mars. And they don't want to have to pay to send something up to the space station right away before they prove it that it works in zero gravity. Some of this new tech is its first of its type in zero gravity. So something like New Shepard, they can send it up. They get 3 minutes of zero G. They can do some base diagnostics, some base testing, prove at least the theory of what they think they want to do with their technology. Then go back, innovate, maybe do another test before they have to really fork out and pay for a lot to actually get up to an orbital mission or up to the space station.
Attention to detail being paid by this incredible team here in West Texas. We're going to go back and check on what's going on out at the pad.
Huh, I'm not sure when I went muted. That's fun. We'll see what happens. When did I cut out? Let me know in the know in the chat. Was it a minute ago, or has it been quiet for a few minutes? Let me know in the chat there. Right now they're showing on screen kind of a recap of previous flights during the early innovation of Blue Origin during their early flights. A minute, a few minutes, about a minute, a couple minutes. Okay, well, we were answering a few of the questions there. As you can see, we're still holding at 3 minutes, 30 seconds. We've been in this hold for just over 10.5 minutes. Teams continuing to monitor the weather. At this time, the vehicle looks like it is in a safe condition as we continue to hold on the countdown. And we will hopefully have an update from Mission Control here shortly. At 3 minutes, 30 seconds, continuing to hold. Answering a couple questions that were in the chat there, but I guess the mic was off. Technology can be hard sometimes. Great to have so many of you joining us here at the Launchpad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and it's great to have so many of you from literally all around the world joining us here for today's flight. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. We're on the road to 100K by the end of the year, and maybe depending how long Artemis goes before Artemis. So make sure you've engaged that subscribe button. It helps us out, and you'll never miss another launch there live. Got people tuning in. Lock Watcher, do they have a 0G indicator on board? They do not. So with New Shepard, when they have crew on board, they have an announcement that comes out that they are at 0 gravity. They do not have like a little indicator for it, a little stuffed animal or anything, but maybe in the future we'll see that. I know 0G indicators are becoming a collector's item. Glenn, disrespectful watching while the Queen's on the move. I completely feel with that, Glenn. That is why TLP has gone all black on all of our overlays, and we will for the remainder of the morning period for Her Majesty. We're from Canada, so that's why we are honoring that. We are in an official, like, government mandated period of mourning. So we're recognizing that Blue Origin is American, so they are not under Her Majesty or His Majesty now. So they are not in that period. Been very interesting to see how U.S. companies have handled that. Some making statements, some may not. So very interesting. But I can completely feel with you, Glenn. It does feel really weird to be doing these type of activities when the UK, Canada, and so many other nations are in a mourning period. And going through that, something we hopefully will not have to go through again for quite a while. But Her Majesty was incredible and deserves this and so much more for her reign. Welcome as a VIP spectator, Nudos Media Productions. Thank you so much for joining as a member. I hope I said your name right there. Really appreciate that. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we will be answering those live throughout the remainder of today's count. 3 minutes, 30 seconds and holding now for over 13 minutes. Timothy asking, is Orbital Reef going to replace the ISS? It is one of about 6 stations that have been planned for low Earth orbit. So it won't directly replace the space station, but it is something that will be one of many that replace it. So there will not be a direct replacement for the International Space Station. That is a government space station, and everything else will be going private, where the government will just lease basically space in a space station to be able to do their science. So it'll be a big shift away from how we have understood operating and working in space. We hope to still have consistent crew in orbit, low Earth orbit, in the future with these new stations, but luckily we've still got 6-8 years left of the ISS to figure out what we're going to do with those there. Aviation TV, will it launch today? We've still got a fair amount of time left in today's window. We've got well over an hour left, so they've still got quite a bit of time for today's mission there. If you guys have questions, you can send those to us in the chat by taking us at the Launchpad. We'll be working on answering those live while we continue through today's hold and await updates from Mission Control. where was it? Art's asking, how can we invest in Blue Origin like we can with Rocket Lab, with RKLB? So it depends if the company has gone private or not on the stock market. That is one thing that has to happen, and I do not believe Blue Origin has done that yet. Maybe something in the future. Hello to Jacob and Orla. Great to have you here. We got people tuning in all over the world. Great to have all of you tuning in the chat. Jeremy, when is scheduled liftoff for Artemis 1? So to give you a quick update on Artemis 1, it's still sitting at the pad. Teams are continuing to work on the quick disconnect on it, changing out some seals. We were expecting to have a Orion power-up test today at some point, and then a critical tanking test on the 17th. Now, we are hearing from sources that this tanking test may be moved up from Friday to Wednesday, which would be great to help us plan to if we need to go down or not. We are working on getting our team back down to Florida for this next launch window. And right now, NASA's saying they are targeting the 23rd and the 27th as a backup for the 3rd and 4th launch attempts of Artemis 1. But we are keeping a close eye on that. If for any reason this tanking test does not go well, this Orion power-up does not go well, or the range says no to authorizing an extension on the flight termination system, SLS will have to roll back to the VAAB, and this will put us back to the October 17th window, which would make it a lot easier for a lot of people to get back down to Florida, to be fair. And it gives them time to work these issues and not try to rush them. But we're waiting to have more updates on how this will go. One of the biggest things we need to watch for with Artemis 1 is the fact that it is now limited to only 2 more rolls. So it can roll back to the VAB, roll out, roll back to the VAB, and roll out. And it's technically used up all of its rolls already at that point because of how many it did during the wet dress. Now, they could sign a waiver and just roll it more, but then you're starting to risk structural ability to the rocket. And it's something they're having to watch. So Artemis 1 is surrounded by enough waivers. We don't need more waivers on it, but it looks like we might still have a few more of those left. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of Blue Origin New Shepard 23, launching from launch site 1 at Corn Ranch in Texas. We are in a hold at 3 minutes 30 seconds. We've been in this hold for now over 17 minutes. We held at T-minus 15 minutes for over half an hour, so we are now over 45 minutes of holding time on today's flight. I think we were a little optimistic in our poll, putting only 30 plus minutes as our highest one, but they've been getting better and better with these. But we've got some holds today, and we haven't had any updates on why we are in a hold. So could be weather, could be range. One key thing to point out is they have not retracted that crew access arm as of yet. Obviously there's no crew on board, but that does still need to be retracted in preparation for flight, and that happens, I believe, right at about the 2.5 to 3 minute mark. So something to keep a close eye on is if we see that retract before the hold is ended or right after we exit this hold. When we exit this hold, we will not be exiting at a greater number. We will exit at T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds. It's one of the unique things with Blue Origin's countdown. They hold and then they go right back into it where they are. They don't recycle back to later times unless there is a major thing with like crew where they have to change some stuff. So we'll see how that goes there. Mikhail, which 6 stations? NOAA 5. There's a number of them. There's Star Lab, there's Orbital Reef, there's... Ooh, I'm blanking on the names right now. There's the Blue Origin one, there's the New Shepard one, there's a Lockheed one. I'll have to double check those. We have a couple videos on the channel that go through all of them, so keep an eye on that. There's also some other ones that have been announced that aren't as likely to be ready by the end of the decade, but are announced. There are 3 to 4 for sure that I trust will actually have parts in orbit. Oh, there's Axiom Space, of course. They're getting ready to launch their first pieces in the next kind of year and a half or so. We're going to start seeing commercial space stations very soon in low Earth orbit. Axiom Space, of course, building their station on the side of the International Space Station before separating off prior to the end of the ISS at the end of the decade. Rick, this is a test mission for the future Blue Moon efforts, correct? They will use the tech from New Shepard on Blue Moon, should Blue Moon ever be used. It is using the same ideas, but this is not directly a test mission. This is a operational mission for cargo, taking 36 payloads over the Kármán line. Now 20 minutes of hold at T-minus 3 minutes 30 seconds. That, Jacob, if space stations could fire fireworks, would we be able to see them? It'd have to be pretty big fireworks. Probably not. I don't think so. Good question, though. If you're just joining us, though, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does help us out. Make sure you've subscribed so you never miss another live launch coverage, space briefing, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. We're still waiting for an update from Blue Origin on how things are progressing through today's count. At this time, we have not really had any updates throughout today on what these holds have been for, but we are keeping a close eye on that. Let's listen in.
We are standing by as the team continues to make sure that we are ready for our launch today here on NS-23. We're going to go back to the rocket as we continue to hold. All right, our hold has been cleared, and we are gearing up to launch NS-23, our New Shepard payload flight. We are going to get ready for the bit checks coming up next. All right, there you see the launch gantry retracting. We're going to get ready for our built-in test checks, our bit checks. We're going to make sure all of the subsystems on the rocket are ready to go. There you see the aft fins rotating. Those fins at the base of the booster help direct the vehicle on ascent and descent. There you see the engine nozzle gimbaling. Now that engine gimbals to help maneuver the rocket as it flies. We're also keeping an eye on the pressure and the temperature in the propellant tanks. Those need to stay in the start box or the green zone for all of these different variables. All right, everything looking good with the rocket. It is time to hand it off to Mission Control. Let's launch New Shepard.
T-minus 16, guidance internal. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
Mission Control confirms New Shepard has cleared the tower and is headed to space. Now you can see on the lower side of your screen that we're gaining speed. As New Shepard gains altitude, the atmosphere gets thinner. The bar on the left shows the vehicle's ascent. Now we actually started at about 3,700 feet MSL. That's how far above mean sea level we are out at Launch Site 1. That BE-3 engine throttled up as we're going to push up to max Q. Again, that's the point where the aerodynamic stress on the vehicle is at its maximum. We're going to throttle back and then continue on up to space.
And we have seen an abort of New Shepard. It has emergency separated from the booster. New Shepard 4, 1 minute 30 seconds now into flight, awaiting updates from Blue Origin. The capsule has jettisoned itself using its emergency separation SRB in the capsule. First time we have seen this used during an operational mission. You can see New Shepard's altitude now beginning to descend. Some of the overlays will be incorrect at this time, triggering 0G just because of its altitude and its speed.
It appears we've experienced an anomaly with today's
We have drogue shoot deploy.
This was unplanned and we don't have any details yet. But our crew capsule was able to escape successfully. We'll follow its progress through landing. As you can see, the drogues have deployed and the mains are going to be pulled out next.
Stand by for main chute deployment. This is why they test. This is why they have had testing of this emergency separation prior to when they put crews on board, but an anomaly during New Shepard 23, the first operational anomaly of the New Shepard vehicle system. We are reviewing footage of what had occurred here. It did happen very quickly. Awaiting more updates from the Blue Origin team. Unsure the current status of the booster itself. Booster 4 on its 9th mission. At T plus 1 minute, 4 seconds, the emergency SRB was ignited at about 30,000 feet in altitude. We have yet to see the other booster on screen since.
All right, the mains are out. You see that they're reefed. They're going to be expanding. As the mains inflate, the capsule will stabilize. That's looking like a successful execution for the crew capsule and escape system.
Should a crew have been on board, this is what they would have trained for, an emergency situation. Wouldn't have felt great, but they would have been safe. That SRB igniting in the center of the New Shepard capsule, evacuating the capsule from the booster. It is likely that the booster was aborted with a flight termination sort of system. Keep in mind, this is in the middle of basically nowhere in Texas, so the vehicle, the region around it will be safe. This was around the Corn Ranch region. Will be very interesting to hear more on what has occurred during the anomaly. "36 payloads returning back to Earth."
And the crew capsule continuing to descend under its 3 main chutes. You can see those West Texas mountains in the background. As we come down towards the desert floor, we're going to expect that retro thrust system to fire. Again, that will take out most of the energy in the landing in addition to the parachutes. You'll see it kick up a big cloud of dust out there in the desert.
Coming down here to touchdown, emergency crews, of course, will go meet the capsule. And there we go, we have touchdown.
There goes the retro thrust system. You can see how our backup safety systems kicked in today to keep our payloads safe during an off-nominal situation. Safety is our highest value at Blue Origin. It's why we built so much redundancy into the system. We're going to close out the webcast for today. We'll share more information about the flight on Blue Origin's Twitter feed as we can. Thank you for joining us for today's webcast.
And before we wrap it up here, we're going to do a really rough scrub back to see the anomaly here, so bear with us just before we wrap up here. Here is the in-flight anomaly right about the 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 second mark. An anomaly occurred with Booster 4. This was Booster 4's 9th flight, having carried multiple crew missions on suborbital missions with New Shepard as early as, or as late as just a couple of months ago. You can see here, right as it passed about 23,000 feet, this is where the anomaly occurred. You can see the booster had a major anomaly at the base of the rocket. It looks like a failure of possibly the engine. You saw there, and that's where we had the emergency separation of the capsule. This is why you have safety systems, is for these type of events. And then the capsule emergency separated there. Rewind this here just a little bit back again for you guys. One more replay there. Keep an eye at the base of New Shepard 4. That is where you see this anomaly occur. Right at the base of the engine, right about the 1 minute mark, you start to see that flame flutter a little bit. And then it actually engulfs the base of the rocket right about here. You see the flutter, and There it is. There's that boost and then the emergency separation of the capsule. No crew on board, so no people at risk, but the booster definitely, at this point, will be no more. Booster 4 will fly no longer, and they will have to work to have a new booster. I would easily say we are going to see a delay in more crewed flights from New Shepard. They are going to have to do more testing and proof of what happened. They're going to have to test a new booster as well before they will be able to actually fly crew again on this. There will obviously also be an investigation into what has occurred, but if you're just annoying us, joining us, an anomaly has occurred on Booster 4 with New Shepard. Not much more is known at this time. We will bring updates on YouTube and Twitter as we get more of them. You can follow us over at tlpn_official. We will have that link in the chat there, or join us over on our Discord. We'll be talking about this in live comms as we work to get some information on what possibly has occurred. I do not expect that we will hear any updates from Blue Origin for a bit. While they review this, they're going to go look at the debris field of the booster and look at the capsule. But a successful failure of the New Shepard. The capsule is safe, the payloads are safe, everything worked the way it should have. And that's what needs to be celebrated here. That worked. If there had been a crew on board, the crew would have been fine. Just like Crew Dragon, just like Starliner and Orion, they all have crew evac systems, and that is what we saw activated today here. A rare sight in any modern rocketry, but safe nonetheless. And you can see there the capsule was in free fall for just a brief amount of time prior to the drogues being deployed and going from there. But yeah, last reports 24,000 feet. The overlays, the moment the anomaly occurred, all the overlays go not in accurate mode because they're not getting live telemetry. But we're going to wrap it up here today. One last little replay showing the anomaly here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Make sure you follow us over on Twitter and our Discord for updates on the anomaly of New Shepard 23, a successful failure of the New Shepard vehicle. That's going to do it for us here today, here at the Launchpad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. We hope that you will join us for our next live launch coverage, space news update, space briefing, and of course, we will be back down live on location for the launch of Artemis 1. We hope you will join us then, but for now, this is Zach from TLP Network Studios signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.